Hey everyone, let's talk about this device right here, the hyperangulated blade for the video laryngoscope. I love this device and it's an incredibly valuable tool, but if you think that just standard geometry video laryngoscopy techniques are going to translate effectively to it, I think you're going to be in for a bit of a surprise, and so I want to just cover the essentials here of what you need to know about the differences of this blade so that you can use it effectively. First is that it can't be used as a direct laryngoscope. Unlike standard Macintosh blades on video laryngoscope devices, the standard Macintosh blade can also be used for direct laryngoscopy. The hyperangulated blade, because of its acute angle and its ability to look around the tongue, doesn't allow you to do that. Second, you need to be able to either shape your stylet in a more acute angle that follows this path, or use a rigid stylet like the glide ride stylet that goes with this hyperangulated blade from Verathon here. That will allow you to follow the path around the tongue and around the blade up to the glottic opening. Next, what you need to understand is your perspective is different. Because the camera is on this hyperangulated blade, the camera is sitting a little bit lower and looking up at the glottic structures. What this does is it can make the angle to the glottic opening more acute. So if you are too close to the glottic opening or you're rotated too far backwards, that angle is going to be very steep and your tube is going to bang up against the anterior tracheal rings and get stuck, and tube delivery is going to be a little bit harder. There's some easy ways to mitigate this problem. First is just don't get too close. Use progressive laryngoscopy, and once you've seated in the vallecula and got a good view, don't get that best optimal view. Just get the best view for tube delivery, which is usually pulling back just a little bit. When you pull back just a little bit, you lengthen the glide path, and then you also lower the angle just a little bit so that tube has a more natural progression to the tracheal opening. Second, oftentimes when people can't deliver the tube, one of the reactions they have is to pull back on the handle and rotate upwards. This is just going to make your angle more acute and going to make it more difficult to deliver the tube. So if you're banging up against the anterior tracheal rings and then pulling back on the handle of the blade, it's just going to make things worse. So instead of tilting back, tilt the handle forward. Now, pulling back and tilting the handle forward and just a little bit of upward elevation will then allow you to align that angle with the trachea, which is going to dive downwards at 30 degrees once it gets past the glottic opening. If you use a rigid stylet and you know how to use it effectively, and you understand where the camera is, and you use these tricks, you will have a much more effective hyperangulated blade experience. All right, go ahead and practice this at one of our hands-on stations, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side of this video.